Hi guys, I'm 13 here, and topic of this video is what are the top reasons why motorcyclists crash? And I wrote this down somewhere, but I don't have it on me. Let's see if I can remember. The number one reason motorcyclists crash, and I know this for certain, is it's not. Most people think the number one reason motorcyclists crash is because cars hit them. They say, it's not the motorcycle that's dangerous, it's the other drivers on the road that don't see you and turn into you and bump you off or pull out of side streets, and that's actually not true. The number one reason motorcyclists crash is because they take corners too hot. They go into a corner too fast. Actually, you know what? That's not even true. Let's take that back. They go into a corner at a speed that they think is too fast, because chances are they could go a lot quicker. But they go into a corner doing a speed that they're uncomfortable with and they think is too fast, and they brake. And braking in a corner while at lean on a motorcycle is not a good thing to do. It's and it very often, and I've seen it. I've personally seen it like at least a dozen times, where people go into a corner and then they get worried about their speed, so they hit the brakes, and it causes them to crash. And so that's the number one reason. It's just, and the way to combat that is just, you need to be aware of that fact, and know that, because if you're riding a motorcycle, sooner or later it's going to happen. Sooner or later you're going to go into a corner and then panic and think, shit, I'm going too fast for this corner. And when you do that, when that moment comes, you just gotta scream at yourself, don't brake, because that's what your natural instinct is going to tell you to do. It's going to be like, you're going too fast, so therefore you should brake, and that's wrong, because if you brake while turning sharply, you'll lose control. It's like houses on both sides of the road. I slow right the fuck down. Ooh. It's like houses on both sides of the road. I slow right the fuck down. Ooh. So you just gotta tell yourself, don't brake, turn more, because chances are you can always turn more than you think you can. The only way you're really going too fast for a corner and can't turn more is if your bike is scraping, the side of your bike is scraping along the pavement. And if you're at the point where you're at a full lean angle and your bike's rubbing against the pavement, then yeah, you can't turn more at that point. But anything less than that, you can turn more. So that's the number one reason. Number two reason is cars making left-hand turns in front of you. So you're driving along on a road like this, and perhaps you're in the left lane, which is kind of dangerous. The safest lane is the right, because it gives you the most reaction time to cars entering from the left or cars entering from the right, so it's best to stay in the center lane. And then a car makes a left-hand turn to go into one of those, from this road to one of these side streets, and they don't see you coming, and a car turns left. I did that. When I was 16 years old, I was in a car, I was driving around a road like this, and I made like this car up ahead of me. See, if he pulls out right now, I'm fucked. But he didn't, because he saw me. But if he had, we would have crashed, and that's the number two cause. The way to prevent that is by keeping your high beam on. It makes you extremely visible. Another thing you can do is there's some kind of a headlight modulator you can get, and what it does is it makes your headlight not flash, but kind of pulse. It kind of makes your headlight pulse, get stronger and weaker, and it just, again, it makes you more visible. Other than that, I don't know. You can just try to kind of like stay alert for it, right? Like if you see a car wanting to turn left, you can kind of like cover the brakes, or just kind of, just be aware of it. Be aware that they could just pull out. So just kind of look at them, try to see if they've noticed you or not. Watch their tires. If they start to roll, maybe brake. Number 3, I'm guessing at this point, would be when you want to make a left-hand turn, like I make a left-hand turn, and I just don't notice I don't see a car. So motorcycles, and then I get T-boned. Oh no, probably number 3 would be cars pulling out of side streets. Like you're just going along, and a car pulls out of a side street, or a parked car pulls out because they don't see you coming. And again, headlight modulators. So the number 1 cause of motorcycle crashes is actually the motorcyclists themselves. And then number 2 and number 3 would be other drivers. But it's something. But it's proportionately it's really high. It's something like 80% of all motorcycle crashes don't involve other vehicles. So in other words, 80% of the crashes are just some guy riding along by himself, and then he goes into a corner and crashes by himself. And that's actually good news, because a lot of people are scared to ride a motorcycle because they think that the vast majority of accidents happen from people who are on motorcycles, and through no fault of their own, they get taken out by other cars. When in actuality, that's untrue. The vast majority of accidents are just the motorcyclists cause them themselves. And with a bit of training and a bit of knowledge on that, you can avoid that. And a very high percentage, and don't forget, like a very high percentage of accidents happen when people are inebriated. So like 80% of all of motorcycle accidents happen, the motorcyclist does it to himself, and in a very high percentage of those, maybe 50% or more, the guy's drunk. So it's not that hard to avoid crashing if you look at the statistics. It's, don't get drunk. Don't carry too much speed into the corners until you're confident you can, etc., so forth. And then if you do go into a corner too fast, educate yourself on what to do. Let's just park out here. There we go. Oh, actually, I need to get some work done on my bike, so I should be parking in front of their shop instead of away from it. Yeah. Okay, so those are the top 3 reasons. I think there's more, but I didn't bring the paper. So that's me signing out.